Welcome to This Week in Marymount Warriors Athletics here on ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Griefer, and we're happy to be joined once again by Tom Nurl, Athletic Director at Marymount High School here on MarymontSports.com. Tom, obviously, it's been a couple of weeks since we've gotten together here. How have the last few weeks been for you as far as teams finishing up the regular season and then now moving into the postseason?
Well, we have dug out of the snow. Uh, only had only had one postponement, I think, but yeah, things are good. The teams are doing well. We're starting to wrap up the seasons, as you said, and we have kicked off the spring season. So things are busy, busy, busy. But it's a good thing to have. So yeah, we're ready to roll.
Let's get right into it. Let's start on the hardwood, and let's start with your girls basketball team because they have had some rather tense moments. I would say here as they've gone to the postseason, 3 barn burners in the sectional thus far. This isn't supposed to happen for a 3 seed. You're supposed to have an easier path, but it's been quite a challenge. Kind of recap this. You start off with a 6-point win over Taft. You need overtime to beat East Clinton, and then just most recently, you play Norwood. You get a 3-pointer with 13 seconds left to win that one to get into the district final now to take on Waynesville there to try and win the district and advance on. How stressful has this run been for you and as well as for the coaching staff?
It's been a lot more stressful on the coaching staff than it has for me. I just sit there and tweet, and I'm distracted for most of the game, and the principal goes, "Oh, you missed one. Put this one out." But wow, yeah, what a wild couple of games. The game with Taft, so many athletes there, and just a quick game, and then with East Clinton, the teams they're outside our normal scope, outside our range, and they had a good team. They're very similar to us. A lot of backdoor cuts early on. Got a big lead, but our girls they stuck with it, and it was actually kind of funny because the day after the game, our bus coordinator says, "I guess you don't need any more buses." And I said, "Well, we won last night." He goes, "The bus driver said you lost," and so he went outside when about a minute and a half to go. We were down 7, and started. We went through that one. Just a crazy game, and just a big overtime win for our girls. Really went off. And then with Norwood last night, we knew they had a good team. We played them earlier in the season. I think it was an overtime game there as well. Had a disastrous first quarter. I think we were down 10-2 or something. If you're playing ping pong, that's a skunk, and the game's over. But we just stayed at. Then we had a 20-point second quarter. Went up, and we're on a run, and got a little tight there at the end. But they came out with a win. So great win for the girls. We said this before. They're a very young team. And they're an exciting team. But yeah, Spring hit that 3 from the corner with 13 seconds. So it was just crazy. It was fun. Yeah.
So you go through this season with a very young team, and yet you're still up there as far as the elite goes in the CHL. As we said, you get the 3 seed in the sectional there, which is very, very good. Obviously, what stood out to you most about the way the team has gone through the season, given that they're so young and given all the challenges that this season has presented?
Yeah, their defense is good. And anyone that wins a championship will tell you, defense never takes a night off, and they do not take a night off. And once Norwood got up last night, that second quarter into the third quarter, actually in the fourth, I think at one time, I think Norwood got 4 points in the third quarter, and we were limiting them in the fourth. And I almost put the tweet out that our defense is something like you'd find at Waffle House, smothered, covered, and everything else. And I had it typed up, and I went, you better not put that out there yet. And so I deleted it. And then we had some turnovers, and Norwood converted, and then it got tight. And it's like, sometimes you just, you don't put that stuff out there in a game. But their defense has been what they hung their hat on this year. Very strong at times, very smothering at times, very good, and that's what's carried this team.
But hey, Waffle House, if you want to, send the team some love, send the program some love, I'm sure Tom would listen. If that opportunity presented itself.
We'll take it. And Coach John Parker from here is a regular customer. So over the years, he's probably well invested in you guys.
Contact Tom Nurl about that there, Waffle House,
There we
and
go. Yeah.
we'll get a hookup there going forward. Let's move over to the boys, and they've had some time off here before getting ready to begin postseason play. But let's talk about their close to the regular season. We had talked about how the team had basically spent the entire month of January at home, and then was going to spend basically the entire month of February on the road. But they've proven they can do it on the road, road warriors, so to speak. You know, they win 6 straight to close the year, with 5 of those being on the road. And one of the young men that's really stepped up his play during this entire run has been Will Trubisky. I know we talked about him, I think, the last time we talked, but continues to play well. He's averaging nearly 20 points per game during this 6-game run that you're on going into the postseason. What have the coaches said about Will and taking his game to the next level during this win streak?
You know, Will's a great study of our season within itself, because, you know, when the season started, we had a couple other players that were probably getting a lot more of attention from the other team's defense than Will was. And then when there was no McGowan, when Senis went down, now Will's a guy, and so he started getting the full attention of other teams' defense. So he had to adjust a little bit, but he's worked on getting open. And well, I tell you, he gets that first 3 of the game. If he drains out one, we know we're going to be on a run. But he's had some games here. He's just been draining it and then driving for the basket as well. He's done a really good job carrying this team as we go down the stretch. And another one has been Jack Borgerding. Jack missed a season with a knee last year. He stopped wearing a brace and is just wearing a sleeve now on that knee. Boy, he's really come on about the last 4 or 5 games as well. So, you know, we look at this team and we think, wow, you know, McGowan's out and Senis is out, and, you know, now Borgerding's healthy. Boy, if we had them all together, wow, what could we have here? But we've still had a really good season. And like I said, with Will to step up, he's done Acquired Player of the Week honors already. These guys are really excited to start the season, to start the tournament.
And you finally do get the start to that tournament tonight with Gamble Montessori in round 1. And we can't help but look at the way the draw sets up. If you get past this one, you've got a potential sectional final looming against top seed CHCA there. How did you feel when the bracket was announced?
Well, you know, it seems like everybody went in that bracket. You know, they were avoiding Purcell and avoiding Taft. But Coach was really happy with that. He was really happy with that draw. Kind of surprised that Gamble jumped in right after we did into that bracket. But Coach Caldwell thinks we match up with anyone else who's in that bracket. So he jumped in there. We're feeling pretty good about where we are right now and where we are in the tournament.
Do you feel like you've got a team that can get to maybe a district final or beyond?
Yeah, we think we do. We think we do. So you know, it's tough having 10 days off. The last regular season game was against Reading. It was an overtime game against Reading. You know, we're up for a while. Then Reading took the lead for a long time. Then our defense started forcing some turnovers. An overtime game. You know, you're thinking, wow, you know, we don't want this one to get away from us with a 10-day layoff. But it was a good gut check for our kids, you know, taking a couple punches there. Very physical game, very fun game to watch. Good one to end the season on. So I was really glad to see our guys get that W, and let's see what we can do in the tournament now.
Given that it concluded the run to the end of the regular season with 6 in a row, are you, in retrospect, maybe yourself and the coaches happier that you had to gut one out at the end, as opposed to maybe winning one by 20 or 30 points and having to sit on that, and maybe the fear of coming out in the first sectional game kind of rusty because you didn't have a challenge at the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a fear in there, but, you know, you always want that challenge. And, you know, we've had a pretty good run with our season this year. We've had some really good back and forth games. But that one with Reading, it just seemed like a good game to end the season on, you know, to get challenged, to be behind, to answer the call, and to come back out, whatever other cliche we can put in there. But it was just good, you know, and I really felt good for the kids coming out of that game, just to take that challenge, to take Reading's best punch. And you know, Reading's had a rough way this year. They've had a number of COVID shutdowns. They play tough. They got a nice little team there. I know they're out of the tournament already, but that was a good game. That was a fun game to watch.
We'll be keeping an eye on seeing what your team does in the sectional here. Let's move on. Let's talk about your bowling teams now. Their seasons have finished up since we last talked here, and you know, we talked to the way the season has gone. It was kind of an up and down year for the boys that have a couple of really nice performances, and then would drop a couple there. Kind of an up and down year as the things went along. And with the girls, one of the things we talked about as well was you didn't always have a full roster. You didn't have a full allotment of bowlers to get out onto the lane. So, the win-loss record, not indicative of how the season went, given the fact there were times you didn't have a full allotment of bowlers available. What goes into your evaluation of these programs in the offseason, especially on the girls' side, given the fact that you went through a number of matches without a full complement of bowlers?
Yeah, we always look at how at the end of the season how we can improve our programs, and it's tough when you're bowling 6 against 4 or 5 against 4, or 5 against 6. It's just tough to compete. But our the girls are out there. I think our coaches did a good job working with those athletes. Is one thing our head coach Jim Barr had said. I have to find a way to get them to have their best games when we get to these tournaments, because we've had some very high games along the way, but then I don't know if it's a little stage fright or what, but they get out there and they struggle a little bit. Part of it's being on different lanes, and part of it's just bowling against different teams. But when the time comes, you have to you have to score. And Zamir Thoman did that. He moved on to the districts, our lone qualifier. So, but then just to follow it up, and we're still a young program. We're 3 years into this, so we'll get our legs and we'll continue to grow. And we've made pretty good strides in the 3 years that we've had it.
How does the dynamic change on the boys' side? As you said, was Zamir Thoman getting through as an individual. Now the focus turns on doing what we can to try and get him on to see if we can send him on to the state meet. How does that dynamic change within the program, given that he's the only one you have left?
No, I don't think it changes. He's there, and he's a junior, and we've got a couple of juniors that have thrown well this year, Sammy Hankel and Nathan Turner, and they've thrown well throughout the season. Now they know they just have to consistently raise their game, and that's part of a development of a program. First you learn how to compete, then you have to learn how to win and win consistently, and then win championships. That's what they have to do. So you have to put the time in the off season. Just can't pick the ball up in October and expect to be good. They have to get out, every month and roll that ball. So hopefully they do that. They can make the next step.
Let's take a dip into the pool here, and let's start with your swim teams first. On both sides of things, they have been delivery after delivery, not only in the sectionals but also the district meets as well. You're going to have a bunch going to the state meets, both individually and in some relay events there as well. How have you seen them perform in your eyes in the postseason? And is there one specific swimmer or one relay team that you feel gives you the best shot to win a state championship? Or do you feel like you've got multiple state championships within your teams?
I think it's going to be hard for us to win the state championship. We're going to compete well. But unless you're winning the sectional or the district by a lot of time, you're going up against the other districts that are posting good times there. So we know we're going to have some good performances. We know Nathan Cox on the diving board. He's certainly in a position to challenge for a state title. Philip Forbes and Jonah Mikesell in their individual events, the freestyle and the fly, they're going to compete really well for the boys, and our relays there. So we'll see what can happen in there. At this point, you want to win a state title. You want to be first or second, but you also just want to get on the podium and get top 8. And there's 24 swimmers going. If you can get on the top 8 or even get in the top 16, it's quite an accomplishment at this point. And then on the girls' side, we got Ava Ellis and Jacqueline Young and Lydia Everline. They've been swimming strong all year with great time. So it's going to be fun to see what they do. The girls swim tomorrow and the boys swim on Thursday. So we're really excited to send that up. This is the 32nd year that we've sent swimmers to the state championships. So it's quite a record for a school our size. But just really excited to get them on the road and see what they can do the next couple of days.
You touched before, and I want to talk about him now, is Nathan Cox and the way he's performed really not only this season, but throughout his career. And diving, didn't have sectionals. They went straight to the districts, and he wins the district title by 175 points. That's a pretty hefty margin to win a district and sets him up well as far as the state meet goes. We've talked about his post high school plans. He's going off to the University of Denver to dive there. And so now everything culminates here with this state meet. Is he or you or the coaches looking at this as state title or bust for him because it's his last go around?
Uh, yeah, I think he's pretty excited for this. I think coach has high expectations for him. It's always a shame. We want to get to that. We want to get to that top rung, just like boys soccer did. But it's such a grind to get there, and especially when you're a senior for 4 years. Nathan went through a little bit of period there. He had a muscle pull. He's back. He's strong. He's diving well. Um, I don't so much stuff happens between now and then. So
Mhm.
just to have a good meet is what you want to do. But I'm sure in the back of his mind, he wants to go and get that gold in his last high school meet.
What's he been? How's he been like to talk with and see his development outside of the pool, maybe just on a day to day basis? What's your experience been like with him?
He's around me. He's a quiet guy, and we don't see him. We don't cross paths a lot in the pool at the swim meets because the divers either swim before the meet or after the meet,
Mhm.
so they're with the team that way. But he's yeah, a quiet kid. He's a great competitor. Has a lot of fun with the dive coach. I know that the dive coach, just a whole group that they have a good group. But he's driven enough, and he's found a spot at Denver next year. So it all works out well for him. But there's a lot of time on that board. Whether it's during the season or in the off season that they're putting in and honing their craft. So it's just really phenomenal for us to see him have that kind of success.
As we're winding down here on the episode today, and we're also kind of starting to close the book on the winter sports season. We're not there yet, but we're close. When you take stock of this winter season, how do you compare it looking back to the fall and the different kind of challenges that maybe your winter sport athletes have had to face in comparison with your fall sport athletes? Has it been about the same for you? More challenging in the winter, less challenging in the winter?
There's more athletes in the fall, so there's more to worry about. Just teams staying safe, teams not getting the COVID, anything else. And then when we start the fall season, it was right around Thanksgiving time. There was a spike in the community. There was a spike in the town, and so that was really hard to deal with. And just wondering, how far this season we're going to get through. We did have the experience of the fall that we had gotten through a fall season pretty much unscathed, and we were pretty successful. So we thought the kids could do what they had to do. We would be all right. I think there's just there's a lot of stress of the unknown of how many games are you going to get in, or are you going to get that phone call that someone was positive in practice, or you played against someone who was positive, and it's going to shut things down. It's I guess it's a variable that's out of your control. So one thing that we've learned is to control what you can control, which is your effort and your output and your being a good teammate, and not worrying about the things that you can't control. Whether someone pops positive or, we can't control those things. So let's not spend the energy on them. So
Sure.
we got through, and we're happy to reach this point. As I said earlier, we're starting the spring season, and so the speeches and the talks and the emphasis will start over again. That if we want to see this through, it's just about a year. We're about 2 weeks away from when everything got shut down last year, and a lot of stuff has happened in that last year. So we're just glad and we're thankful to be at that point.
What are you most looking forward to when we start the spring season up in totality?
Warm and no snow, no rain. Yeah, it's just good to be outside. Yeah, I think you always look forward to it. You like being inside. You like the swim season. You like the basketball season. It's just always good being outside. And as an old baseball coach, one thing I always liked about the spring season is you're playing your first couple scrimmages. You're playing your first couple games. You're wearing turtlenecks, you're wearing sweatshirts, you're wearing long johns underneath your uniform, and then a couple of weeks later, you're having a workout. You're in shorts, you're in t-shirts. Just the change of the season, everything greens up for you. That's probably my favorite part about the spring season. Just getting outside and experiencing all that.
Well, we'll talk about that here when the spring arrives. But as you said, you're a former baseball coach, and now on the administrative side, how's the ball club looking going into the spring?
We've got the highest numbers going out for baseball that we've had in my 20 years I've been at Marymount. So we've got 42 kids coming out for baseball. Our highest numbers. Lacrosse is big here, and so that's always been a lot of kids have gone to lacrosse. But our girls lacrosse numbers are high, our track numbers are high, everything's high, and so we're really looking forward to some good spring seasons and just waiting to get outside and get going.
And we'll be looking forward to talking about that when the time comes. But we're wrapping up the winter season here. A lot of exciting things going on here. Of course, a basketball team still alive. You got swimmers still alive. Nathan Cox going for a diving state title. So a lot of good stuff continuing once again, Tom. We certainly appreciate you taking some of your time to talk about it with us.
Appreciate all your work during the season. Certainly these podcasts and then all the work that the team does. They're keeping our schedule up to date. There's been a ton of changes. I feel like I've been emailing you guys every day, but we appreciate everything you guys do at ESP Media and Sidearm Sports.
We're happy to do it, and we'll be looking forward to the spring and just around the corner. But right now, we're closing the book on the winter sports season here on This Week in Marymount Warriors Athletics with Marymount Athletic Director Tom Nurl here on ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.